All right, it's 4 o'clock, so we'll call to order the June 4th work session meeting of the Village of Northport. And roll calls. What was that? Trustees Ager, Cook, Cavendish, Harper, President McCann are all here in person. And we've got Joe, Trustee Rubel on Zoom. Item 2 is approval of the agenda amendments or additions. Did anybody want to make an addition to the agenda? I know the manager had put some stuff in the Dropbox or emailed us at the last meeting.
Yeah, if we can add the master plan consultant.
All right, we'll
Which
add
is that
that
he asked.
as an item E under discussion items. Any other additions or amendments? Okay, make a motion to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor of the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, agenda is amended. Item 3 is our first public comments. Members of the public will have up to 5 minutes to address the village council. And you can either raise your hand in person or unmute yourself in Zoom to be recognized. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to open my letter in case people didn't have a chance to read it. And then since then, I read Elizabeth's letter. I can just go off the cuff. It's better if I read that. I think the language, I'm
Yeah.
60 North Shore Drive. And bringing up the dam issue and the expense of restoring it. And I've since been talking to people in the village, and I know Hughes expressed it too, what the memories and what that's meant to Northport. You know, my main concern is the financing of it and the environmental. But what I wanted to bring up was not my opinion about what I think, because that doesn't really matter. I'm confused about what the village council's role is in voting on a resolution for millage language. That sounded to me like the council was in support. They felt that restoration of the dam was the best way to handle this problem that you've been discussing a long time. I haven't been involved in a lot of the discussion, so parts of my letter could have been wrong, misspoken, because I don't know what else transpired. I try to keep up, but so I looked it up after Joanne said, well, this language to me is saying that you support this project. And yet with the council comments, it was very apparent that there's a diversity and some unsurety of how to handle this problem amongst you. So I tried to look things up, good old AI, which can be totally inaccurate. But what AI indicated is that usually if you're going to put millage language on a ballot, that it would indicate that you believe that's the best course of action. But I didn't see that as a consensus here, and I could be wrong. So I do think, I know last meeting people came up with, can we revise some of the language? You know, it's not an opinion poll, and my understanding was, according to what Jared said, you can't really revise, like you're not going to put a ballot proposal asking for an opinion of people. But after reading, I don't know, but it would be nice to either revise the language or really understand, do you as a group feel this is best enough to reach out to the public and ask for money? Because as you know, this town's expensive. And that's a big commitment. So, like I said, I could be wrong in my understanding of what your duties would be as a council to make a hard decision if you have to. Or can we change that ballot language such as what Elizabeth suggested? Because I thought that was good. And it was more, you felt you had this option or this option. And I mean, you had the option to vote yes, but you understood what a no vote was. I thought that was good language, and I don't know whether that's legally possible. So that's
okay. Thanks, Vicki. Anyone else in Zoom for? Yeah, I see Elizabeth got your hand up.
Hi, Elizabeth Malik, North Township. I don't know whether you all got the letter. There's a couple of Elizabeths. Did you? Oh, you did. Good. I think I can somewhat answer the lady, I didn't catch her name, that just spoke. But ballot language is very tricky. Jared mentioned that at the last council meeting. You can't lead the voter. You have to just be very non-committal and non-biased. So the ballot that I presented as a draft possibility, I hope you will take under consideration, because I think it's pretty clear where it says, a yes vote, it's going to cost you, and a no vote, it's not going to cost you, but it does not obligate the council as to what they're going to do if the millage does not pass. I then went back to AI. Actually, they reviewed 277 research documents. It took over 7 minutes. That's a long time for AI. So they went through a lot of documents, and they basically said, no, you cannot put in there that the village will remove the dam if the millage does not pass. You can put in may, but will is leading, and it causes you some grief and could cause you some legal action. So what they also talked about was the council could have a resolution before or after, and the resolution could say, if the millage doesn't pass, then the council is in agreement to do X, Y, Z. And that's up to you guys, obviously, whether you want to do that. But I think the voters, it would be certainly helpful for them to know, if we don't shell out this money, this dam is being removed and we put it to bed for once and for all. Otherwise, it's a little bit kicking the can down the road to say, oh, well, we're going to have this millage vote. Oh, it didn't pass. Therefore, now what are we going to do? And you're back at the same spot. So hopefully you'll understand the reason for my writing. This does not affect me because I'm in the township. But I'm a citizen of 50 years here, and I do watch what's going on and appreciate your work, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Chris, Barbara Weber, the camera doesn't work. Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you, Barbara.
I want to say thanks to Betsy, or as Elizabeth as she's known today. I support her efforts. It's been quite clarifying that the ballot that was proposed at the last workshop meeting is not adequate. There has to be, what?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Just some technical difficulties over here.
Oh, there has to be an A and a B. If the millage doesn't pass, then what? And I think a resolution by the council to support, if it doesn't pass, what will happen. Even though that cannot appear on the ballot, it would be on the record. And I am interested when you would start some sort of informal meetings to educate the public on choices. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Anyone else for public comments? If there's no other public comment at this time, we have a second public comment at the end of the meeting. We'll move on to our liaison reports. Waterfront Marina.
Well, the biggest thing is the marina's cleaned up and ready to go for the season. I have a question for Bill, if that's all right.
Sure.
On that Boaters Lounge door, did it seem vandalism?
It does not appear to be vandalism. It was done from the inside. There's 2 panes, and the outside pane is not broken. I think it was an accident. Somebody carrying something in or hitting it a little bit. That's my opinion.
Did we get a quote on it today?
I was driving up here, I saw a twin bay van pulling into the parking.
The rest of it can be covered with Bill's report. So,
Okay.
so,
Infrastructure,
Obviously, there's lots of projects going on all over, which people have specific questions. Cherry's probably the one, but also another thing that's being worked on to come to discussion in the near future or in the future here is more discussion on the EV charger and options and potential solutions or choices for that. So that's being managed.
any questions for Laura? NLTUA, we have our bi-monthly meeting on Tuesday coming up. And I spoke with NLTUA clerk today, and it sounds like we're gonna be getting a report from Stephen Roberts on the technical memorandum, the phase one of the capacity analysis that we have done. And so for anyone in the public interested in that, that'll be Tuesday, meeting at 9:30 a.m. Other than that, nothing to report. Any questions? Okay, that moves us on to item 5. Our discussion items. A is our fiscal year 26-27 budget. The budget committee did meet early May, I think, to review this with the clerk and the manager. Maybe the treasurer was there too. It's all people about at this point. What day was it? You know, at this point, I mean, I'll just hand it over to the staff to walk us through what they've been working on, sort of where they see things and what's going on. Okay for you?
Yeah, let me just, I'll keep my comments pretty brief. And if you'd like, Joni could run through some more details, I think, with like individual line items. Maybe you have questions, or maybe just kind of open it up for discussion. I know how it can be dry going through the spreadsheets. So I wanted to make a couple kind of key points, and this are from my memo. Taxable value continues to increase, not as much as it has been in recent years. This year, we have a 3.5% increase on total taxable value. Previous years, it's been closer to 7-8% increase, which is really stacked up over the past like 4 or 5 years. I should kind of clarify though, I mean, in this, for the scale of the village's budget, that doesn't mean that you're flush, you can start sending $100,000+ into a capital fund for projects every year either. You know, as I mentioned, ad valorem increase is approximately $19,000 as a result of that taxable value increase this year, right? So this is really kind of keeping up with inflation this year. And, you know, not even that in some cases, but it's much better than what we've seen in Michigan at times across the state over the past 10 to 15 years, where you're seeing municipal budgets shrinking, taxable value shrinking, cities looking to downsize their services and their staff. And we're on the opposite trajectory, which is really positive. We also have general fund increases, which are going to result from short-term rental registration and also some of the fee increases because the fee schedule being updated recently. So when I say general fund fee increase of plus 12,000, that's why I say plus 12,000. Probably 10 to 11,000 roughly for short-term rental registrations, but then also some additional fee increases there. I think that number could be closer to like 15,000. Those are some key revenue increases. One that I didn't list here that I'd like to mention is $5,000 less negative with the cannabis license being reduced to a $60, I think, renewal registration, renewal fee. I still think that's going to be pretty noticeable net gain though. That's why I put the 12,000. I have it listed in the memo. I think I mentioned it in my email follow-up. My class is the investment. If you remember the investment vehicle from last year that the village is using, it's really nice to look at that and see the performance. It's liquid. We can access that cash whenever. So you can take, for example, the cash on hand for the sewer fund, over $700,000 of it can sit in that investment account earning interest. So we're gonna see, I think, just off the top of my head, it was around $23,000 that we're budgeting just for interest earning that we didn't have a year ago. So those are small improvements, but they add up. We had assumed a water rate increase of 20%, which will vary depending on how you proceed after getting the results of the rate study. And we've also reduced the transfer from the general fund to the water fund, which has been a staple of the village's budget for many years. And we've reduced that. Joni, what's the number? 75, I think, or was it 80 that we're transferring now from general fund to
I want to say.
water fund? 90, whereas last year was 110. So it's a decrease. We're working in that direction, but that's still a pretty big number for the general fund to come up with $90,000 for the water fund to keep it afloat. In terms of projects, I like to see that we have a capital improvement plan. The budget this year, the planning commission did a lot of work on that. It's appended as part of your budget summary document. You have some hard copies, or no, we don't have hard copies, but it's in the PDF. And the two projects for this year are both for the marina, out of the marina fund. It's the preliminary engineering study for expansion of the marina. And that's $95,000 and $80,000, which is really just an estimate at this point for repairing the void areas in the break wall. I think that's a really important project. We don't know exactly what that number is going to be. Bill and I have been talking about it recently. Really start putting the pieces in place now so that we can do it in the fall, right when the season ends, because we're going to have a short window for doing that. And I don't think you're really going to know until you get out there and start doing the work exactly how much that's going to cost. So it's most likely going to be more like in the time and materials type of project. Water fund, we have water meters, a rate study, water tank cleaning, and also line inspections are all kind of bunched together into one figure. 25,000, I think is the number for that, out of water fund. Master plan update we have included, and that's because of the work the planning commission is doing. That's later on our agenda. $30,000 is the number that the planning commission focused in on, and saying, okay, let's keep it, let's cap it at that, and let's work with the consultant to make sure that we can get all of the services that we need from them within that figure. As far as those studies go, I think that's a pretty reasonable number, but that is in the budget. And the Rose Street Culvert project, of course, is going to be the biggest expenditure for the fiscal year. I said I'd be brief, so I'll try to be brief and stop there. And maybe it'd be better to kind of.
Yes, got a question?
I've got two questions. We didn't approve that 95,000 for a preliminary study on the
No.
marina.
No,
But-
if you remember, we talked about the
We did,
study, we
yes.
have the proposal, so we know exactly what that number is, but there was never formal action
Right.
on it. And this would be included as part of the budget. It really, I think, needs to come back to the council for a final approval, even if you include it in the budget, because that's a really substantial expenditure, and I think it deserves some more discussion and a formal resolution to move forward with that.
Okay, and my second question is, there was a short period this year where we weren't so sure about the marijuana tax and all that. Are we fairly sure that that will be, we don't know, I guess, right, that will be coming in?
Well, so if I, correct me if I'm wrong, the marijuana tax increase across the state is to retail operations.
Mhm.
That does not necessarily impact the village's revenue directly.
Okay.
I think she's talking about the licensing fee that.
Okay,
Oh,
Yeah,
you're
so
probably
there-
right, that's right,
okay, so yeah,
Sorry.
so there was this 24% tax
right.
that the state imposed.
Mhm.
But in terms of what the village is receiving, we've been getting the $5,000 annual permit fee,
Mhm.
which as part of your changes in the fee schedule was reduced to $60. So basically, eliminated. So we won't see that revenue
Okay,
in this budget.
okay, got it.
And while I was talking, I just thought of another key point that I wanted to make, which is staffing. We've had 4 DPW employees, more or less. I would call it 4 like full-time equivalent, even though Kent was not full-time with benefits. He was working close to full-time hours, and we've added a 4th full-time to replace him and then bring that up to a full-time position. And that's in the budget.
Hugh, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question. I think in your summary of the agenda, you mentioned that the budget committee might have to meet again between now and the 17th. Is that still on, or?
Well, I mean, I think that just depends on how this discussion goes, and if the budget committee would like to have more involvement in crafting any changes to the budget that come out of this, but you don't necessarily have to. And if you feel comfortable with the budget coming out of this meeting, we can just schedule it for June 18th and move on.
Anything from the Senate?
I have nothing.
The June 18th meeting is also, it's going to be a public hearing to adopt the millage rate too. So it's been published in the paper, and you have to go through a notification process for that.
Okay. No more questions from council?
For me to add?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was just one thing that
Okay.
was different this year in the budget would be our local street transfer. Years ago, in 2010, when I first started, the general fund did make a contribution to the local street fund. Tax revenues changed for the streets, and we did away with that transfer. But I think, as you can see from the budget summary, the local streets doesn't have a lot of revenues from gas tax revenues, which is based on our number of citizens and our mileage of streets, local streets. So it's around $30,000 a year that supports that fund. And so this year in the budget, we do have a $30,000 transfer from the general fund to the local street fund, preparing for projects for replacing our streets.
Thank you. Good note. Good note.
And that's all.
Any questions for the clerk? If none, if council's okay with the budget that's been presented and the budget committee's, review with the staff. Yes. We'll
Schedule it for action.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right, that brings us to item B, which is the Mill Pond Dam millage. And we did not vote on this at the last meeting. We only had fairly informed. We just wanted to make sure that everyone had input regarding the situation. Not that we didn't at the meeting before, but I guess one of my concerns, I guess as President McCann expressed concern, sort of to some of the public comments is that, there wasn't really a formal decision made by the council to replace the dam and move forward with the village. And then, after I spoke with the manager sort of about that earlier this week, I don't know whether that's appropriate or not. And I mean, whether it commits us to doing something, we could always vote to, not replace it. But those were just something I had been thinking about, and whether it carries weight or not, I guess, was what I wanted to bring back to the council. If I'm not making sense, that's fine. But yeah.
Okay, so just trying to get, I was not at the last meeting, so trying to get up to speed on this. Do we have proposal language written and approved by council right now?
Yes. It was by legal counsel.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
I thought you meant by.
No, I just mean.
I meant approved by council.
Yes.
Um,
You meant legal counsel, right?
I said, yeah.
Okay.
So they've read it
Yes.
and they think it passes muster. I kind of thought Betsy Malik's letter sort of made some sense. in terms of, I mean, I think that maybe we should, the problem is if we amend it today, we're gonna have to send it back to review again. I don't know if somebody's had a chance to compare what we have, and I haven't, what we have against what, Elizabeth Malik has, proposed, which I didn't have any problem with her suggestions, but I don't know how it compares to what we have now, and does anybody have any opposition to try to incorporate her ideas into the ballot language, because I do think it makes sense.
I just wanted to quickly note that, I mean, we got this letter from
Yeah,
Betsy today, but
I know.
so I haven't had a chance to like fully dive into it, but I did compare what she provided and what is part of the resolution that has been reviewed and
Yeah.
approved by legal counsel. And I think the key difference is the box that's right below the actual ballot question. The ballot question is more or less the same,
Okay,
from what I could tell, but below that, there's a box that basically provides an explanation saying yes, no. And under each, there's a bullet points explaining, yes, this would happen, no, this would happen. Without saying it would happen, because as Ben's
Right.
pointing out, that's where you get into this really gray area of leading.
yeah, well, I like the may, I like the word may, in there instead of will, and I think she's probably, without knowing any better, I think she's probably right. And, but I'm really tired of kicking this to another meeting. I'm wondering if we can, I want to have a vote on getting this on the village on the ballot today, but subject to maybe, some editing of the language if we need to. I don't know. I'm just wondering procedurally how, if people want to proceed, because I really just want to get this off the agenda.
Mhm.
I think we all want it on the ballot. Maybe I'd say majority of us do. I'm not gonna speak for all of us, but I'd like to get that as, accomplished, and then we can cross the details with respect to what Mrs. Malik had to add. I thought it was good.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't think we were planning to vote today, either way, I think that it was gonna go to the next meeting. So that would give.
Okay, so there's that.
That would give time for
Okay.
additions if that's. what
Procedurally,
people
that
want.
wasn't a plan. I mean, I know we don't generally take big votes at work sessions, but we can.
Right,
You wanna wait till June 18th?
did you finish your thought?
No, but I.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's okay.
No, it's okay.
Just wanna make sure you
I
got it.
just wanted to clarify that I don't think that was the plan. I think the plan was to talk about it again so that it could be on the next one, because there still would be enough time to get it on the ballot, if that's what everybody decides. I think for me, I have spent a lot of time thinking about this since our last meeting too, and the public comment, but my own thoughts, because, I mean, obviously this has been going on a lot longer than I've been here, and when we still had infrastructure meetings, like that was obviously something that was discussed frequently, and all of these reports had to be generated and done for the dam and all of these status and this and that. And those weren't really what we were discussing in infrastructure, because like we weren't looking at those reports per se, because we still at that time were waiting to see what Eagle was going to tell us we had to do. Right? Like we felt like there wasn't going to be a choice on our part at that time, or it might not be. And so to me, I realized that everybody seemingly has their opinion made, right? Like there are people who think it should be saved, and there are people who definitely think it shouldn't be. And to me, I understand that it's been talked about a lot and people have these opinions, but I also don't think that we have necessarily really looked and talked about what is involved if we are trying to save it. When would that realistically be? Because it's not next year. Like it's not failing right now. And I understand the desire to have the millage on a ballot that's a general election midterm that's going to have a lot more turnout. I also, though, do feel like there are pros and cons to having the voters decide, right? The pro is that we don't have to, right? Like we don't have to dissect and decide what is the right thing, even though some have definitely decided that. But I I also think that it's a way, it's almost setting it up to fail, because like, and again, if we are doing educationals, great, but if we're deciding the ballot language now, and then the educationals happen and things are realized, because at the educationals, people are raising points that we think are valid, which I think is likely that could happen, that could change where what people feel is the relevant or right thing to be doing. I support having a millage to help decide, but I feel like we don't necessarily haven't come to a consensus. The same thing that people are saying, we don't know what the council actually wants to do. Because I think replacing the dam, finding funding for that, I think, yes, that would be very challenging other than this millage, but I don't necessarily think it's impossible at all. There are other things out there. They just would be hard, right? But if people feel the historical and cultural value outweighs the risks or concerns, and so like weighing those two sides, it's two separate things, right? And which is the most important? I don't know. I still struggle and feel like there maybe is more discussion to be had, despite the fact that everybody feels we've talked about it to death.
Good. It's my turn. Yeah, I talked about this at the 2 meetings ago.
Which I wasn't at, I apologize. Yeah.
And I respect the opinion of Public Mr. Slot, if I call you Vicky. But I think there are occasions when something is so big, we're talking about almost $1 million. It's such a big question. And the feelings of the village are very, very hard to decipher on this, because like I said before, the loudest voices are not necessarily the most voices. The majority, I'm very, very much in favor of putting this on the ballot. I think we should have done it a long time ago. And to me, it's not even a question. I consider myself, I have a science degree. I consider myself an environmentalist, but I don't see that as an environmental disaster. What I see it as is a financial disaster. And I don't care if we keep the decorative pond as long as people want to pay for it. And so to me, it's just a matter of strictly dollars and cents. And if you want it, put up the money. If you don't want to put up the money, we may take advantage of state funding and grants to do something really cool, rewilding the stream, and it might not be that awful. It might actually be really, really nice if people have an idea of it. And so, therefore, I do think this is a question that is, I would feel much more comfortable having the public decide, seeing, I think it's something it's beyond this room. I really do. So that's my point.
Hey, anyone down here? Yep, go ahead, Susan.
I would feel more comfortable if we were able to pass a resolution that said, if this millage fails, we're going to remove the dam.
See, I think that's what we're not supposed to do, according to what Ms. Malik says. I think it says may.
Well, that one
That's
said
in the
may, but we could
language,
also
yeah.
pass.
And that's probably just gonna happen. If we don't have the money to keep it, we're gonna get rid of it. I mean, that's just, but I don't think we should be locked into it either way.
There's a difference between stating the intent to place in the ballot language as opposed to in the resolution that you approved.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of what you were getting at, Chris, where you could, that could be part of the stated intent in the resolution, even though it's not on the actual ballot language.
Right, that's what we, in our discussion, what we had talked about, is there a way to, I'm sorry. That's what my, so was, even if it fails, so then do we seek other sources of funding? We haven't stated that one thing is gonna happen versus the other, and have it be sort of, I think it was non-binding was the term you used, or I can't remember, but.
Yeah, it was an advisory question.
Yeah.
It would be non-binding, but you could add it to your resolution,
But
saying,
not the ballot.
therefore be it resolved, we're gonna put this on the ballot. And if this doesn't pass, this is our intent.
I wasn't quite finished. My second question or musing is, if we voted as a council at our next meeting to remove the dam, to take the steps to remove the dam, would someone in the village or people who oppose that idea have the right to put the millage on the ballot?
That's a good question.
Possibly by petition, that would be the only way they could do it, and it would take a pretty Herculean effort. But I don't think you've got the votes on this council for that to happen, frankly. I won't. Vote. So, I want to put this to the voters, and I want it to be a financial question. And I mean, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay.
I will absolutely not vote for that.
I was wondering.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody knows my position on this to a certain extent, but I'm trying very hard to stay neutral, go either way. All I want to do is have a residence. So we've been saying for 4 or 6
Yep.
years.
Yep.
Take it to a vote, let them do the talking, let us do the action before it works.
100%.
So I think I said this at a couple meetings ago, but I just want to repeat that according to the amount of mills that we decided we need, the median house, half of households in the village will pay $90 or less a year on this mill, and half will pay $90 or more, and the top 10% will pay $4,683 a year. Top 10% of households, and we know who those are. I mean, the waterfront, etc. Some of whom don't vote here, but they will still pay it. But they have expensive houses. So I too support Elizabeth Mallett's language. I like that a lot. And I don't know how quickly we could get our council to weigh in on that, but I think as a council, if we can agree that that language was good. Has everyone had a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I like it.
We should direct the staff to run that by our attorneys.
Edwin, do you have anything to say?
I've nothing that's been already been stated. My only question is, or concern is that if we put this to a ballot, it's only for the citizens of the village, but the village will go to all of the properties that are here. So it kind of gives an unfair balance. It seems like there's a lot of questions that need to be asked, but I think Will's proposal makes the most sense, saying like this is really a financial decision. But before that, I think we should know to the longevity of the current dam. So,
Well, I wanted to make the point to Laura's, there was an engineering report that came out 3 years ago that said we should replace the dam in 5 years. Now, they're engineers. Should we believe science or not believe science? I don't know, but I'm tending to think, I don't think we'd have a disaster if the dam broke, right, Chris? And Chris seems to want to say something, which I think he should. But there is an engineering report saying we should replace it in 5 years. And I think, I don't want to kick the can anymore.
No, I agree with you. It won't be the Johnstown flood if that thing fell. I mean, nobody's gonna. I just read Heather Hicks Richardson did a thing on the Johnstown flood the other day. That's a good reminder of American history. But it won't be that. It won't be a disaster if it fails. But I do very much want. I don't know who else on this council is sick of talking about this, but I know that a few of us are really tired about discussing the dam. And even though we heard today that one council member wants to keep discussing it and looking at more options, I've been doing this for 6 years and there are no more options, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to vote, and I want the people to vote, and I want to get it done with, maybe in my tenure or at the end of my career on this board. I haven't decided whether I'm going to run again.
Can I say one more quick thing before Chris? I've said this before. I think if this village is going to spend $1.3 million on something over the next 20 years, I'd rather it not be replacing the dam. There are other things to spend that money on. That's my personal.
However, we wouldn't have that money without the millage, so it's
Correct.
not like
Correct. But
It's not like
still.
we choose between sidewalks and the dam because we don't
Right,
have, we
but
wouldn't
if
have that
people,
money.
if people in their minds are thinking about whether they want to spend this money, I mean, that's one way to look at it.
Let them think it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let them think about it.
Exactly.
We want that.
Is there any objection to me reviewing the yes, no, box explanations that Betsy has provided with legal counsel?
No
Not
objection.
for me.
Try and get this,
Right.
try to get some thorough, a satisfactory review. She also mentioned that there's a place at the Coop Law Center, Michigan State, that does a local review too.
Right.
Might not be bad to have two chairs on there. And I will, if there's no objections, I'll do what I can to
I
have
think
that.
we can do that by the regular council meeting.
I think, yeah, I think we can.
Chris, I'm sorry. Should we ask Chris if he has something to say? He had his hand up.
Oh, sorry,
I'm sorry, I'm August today. One of the things, the language of remove or replace, I guess I'm getting, to me, that just seemed like it's such a black and white issue. We're looking at repair, in all due respect, with Dan Devon for GI. Very respect Dan's opinion, but lifelong resident, we've watched two known 100-year floods, rainfalls, events, a 200-year rain event, and they're saying possibly the recently was 5. The dam did overtop. I think everyone knows where I live. I work right there. I watched daily lose sleep. And it's still there, so the case of is it being designated place? Some point probably. The $1 million figure was a little on the high side. Honestly, remove or replace. Leave that to the engineers and design. But once again, it's still staying. At this point, all we'd like to do, I'm speaking for DPW, is just go and repair what we initially proposed, just on the sidewalls and stuff. That's all. This is maintain what we have. Is that going to affect the integrity? We don't. No, not on the head wall, but it does make an impact with the stop walls, which are the stair steps down. And so I still think, and I agree that it should, kick it down the road a lot in the language. That's out of my wheelhouse, but there's a vocal, I say, to no offense to anyone, there's a vocal minority that is the loudest right now. There's a lot of people throughout that sit in the shadows and, I gotta keep the dam. Well, you need to speak out. So if I'm putting it on ballot would not be a bad idea.
Thanks, Chris.
But I'd like to point out just, if even if the millage fails and we do eventually decide we're gonna rewild the stream, temporary repairs, just to keep it in one piece until we're ready to do it right, would be allowed. We could spend, 50,000 or 20,000 or whatever.
We're talking deer that conventions.
Well, okay, yeah, but we would be able to maintain it, do repairs on it until we're ready to do it right. Yeah, and so it wouldn't, I don't see that as being the vote one way or another as being a hindrance to what you're proposing. We're talking about a major overhaul on a new unit, and that would depend on the millage pass. So I think I'll just clarify. You made really good points, but I just want to make
But
sure
is
that
it part
our
of
hands
the-
won't be tied if the millage fails.
Okay.
Isn't part of the immediacy is to get the grants to remove the dam?
No, they're gonna be there. They will be.
Debatable?
I think the state people say they're gonna be there, but
That's
we have somebody in Washington who is unpredictable.
Well, these are state grants, and I
No,
think,
but a lot of the funding does come from the feds, and you have seen that trend of decreasing funding.
I think that-
programs.
maybe I'm an optimist, but I think that situation's gonna improve in the midterms.
But with any grant funding, I mean, there's no absolute sure thing when it comes to grant funding. But all of the public policy funding, for the most part, let's say 95-5, has been shifted towards removal of dams. So that, that's why there's this imbalance between financially, which is more feasible, removal versus replacement. It's removal is because that's where the public funding tends to divert. That's where it's going.
And if those grants weren't there, it'd be approximately equivalent to remove it.
Well, if you look at the estimates from the 2023 study, they're very similar. I think they're almost within margin of error in terms of being about the same cost versus replace based on that study.
Do we want to think about, in 2 weeks, voting to put this new millage language on the ballot, plus, issue some kind of resolution that says if the millage fails, that you will proceed to take steps to remove the dam?
I think that's what Jared was alluding to.
I did.
That the resolution could include that
could.
language to say if the millage is passed, we may remove the.
I haven't heard that direction specifically though, so if you can have that discussion or kind of take a straw vote, or tell me if there's objections to that, or else I can include that. I can draft some language to include in the resolution to that effect. We talked about it here today, but I'm not sure.
Otherwise, I fear the millage fails. We're back where we started and we spend another 2 years or whatever. Will is shaking his head. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. I want to see something begin to happen.
So let me try and get some feedback on this point. There's no objection. I'm going to do review of the language describing yes versus no vote. Is there any objection to me also then including a statement about be it resolved that should the village question fail, the village would pursue grant funding for the purpose of removal?
I would go with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's our only choice. I
Let's
mean, we don't have the
move
funding
forward
to
with
that. It's our only responsible course of action at that point. If we can't keep it, we have to remove it and do it with the most funding possible to get the best result of a park with a stream through it and, plantings and whatever else we can get, to make it a substitute for what we have now and make it, in some people's eyes, it might be nicer. To me, it's nuts and bolts. It's dollars and cents, but if we don't get the money to do the dam, then we need to get the money to make something nice there and not a big mud pit.
Okay, I'll work on drafting that as part of the
Are we
resolution.
free?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's how it'll come back, June 18th.
Okay, so that moves us on to discussion item C, which is the amendment to the Attainable Housing Facilities Exemption Ordinance. And
Yeah, I think we need this.
Thank you. I really just kind of an oversight, frankly. You're initially looking at where to clean up where the owner occupancy was not allowed. So I think it's more of like an administrative kind of fix based on a policy that you already indicated towards.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just refining.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And we do have an interested applicant, by the way, and that's part of how this came up, because when we started going through the application process, I noticed that section. But that would be the first applicant, so it's good to see that.
Does housekeeping, does somebody have a motion here?
no, we don't.
We didn't.
We're gonna do that for the next meeting.
Yeah, next meeting.
All right.
All right, next up is item D, which is the Citizen of the Year policy, and that was indicated in the memo that Laura provided manager, and I was
Examples.
I'll just let you take care.
Okay, well, I talked about it last meeting, seeing if we can just kind of formalize the Citizen of the Year process and set out what the goal is and what the parameters are and have a way for people to submit, nominate people. And I would recommend, and through that, a lot of the communities that I looked at, in fact, all of them, it have either a committee that decides it, that isn't the council, that then makes a recommendation, or it is the president himself that reviews, or mayor, in some cases. And I think that that could be beneficial, just because I think the spirit of the award is to recognize and lift people up and not debate publicly in our meeting the, value of the different nominees. I think that it might be better if it's just done with staff and the president after people have submitted nominations.
Yes, I read through everything. The only thing I disagree with is the village employees not being eligible.
And that was just because a lot of the, really, again, every community that I looked at had that and elected officials. But, if everybody disagrees, then that would be something we could change.
I guess I agree with you. I don't think we should put a limit on it. But I like this idea a lot. I will see. We'll see if people suggest nominees, or we have to come up with our own.
Well, I also
So
think
we'll see.
that would still allow the
Yeah.
council members to nominate people. It's
Sure.
just you would do it, submit it, and then
Right.
staff and president can review
Yeah.
instead of
No,
us like just throwing it out in a meeting.
I support us trying this, yes.
Yeah.
That's what we were supposed to do this time, start make a list and present it to the administrator.
I just think this gives parameters of like, what are we wanting and for them
And
to
it
look through,
opens it.
because if you don't know, like, if you don't know the person and what they've done, then you have no idea,
Mhm.
and I think that this just makes sure that whoever's looking at it is all talking about the same stuff.
Yeah, and I think our village social media team's doing a great job getting the word out there. So this for next year, something that can be out there, give the public notice that there's a nomination period and, get some.
We're gonna have some better functionality on our site
Yeah.
to do this kind of survey polling. Accept nominations for something like this, so I think we're gonna be able to do it with the website, Facebook, so we'll have some options for
Okay.
reaching out.
And is everyone, would the council be comfortable with the staff and the president then bringing forward the
Yes.
citizen of the year?
The only thing I've heard, because I think it'd be good is if to take what Laura's put together and then just put it into like a one-page policy outlining what we're doing here. These are based on some other examples, and bring it for you to approve officially. And so I can take this draft of policy, and what I'm hearing is don't exclude township, I'm sorry, I'm reading off don't exclude village employees or elected officials.
I was just thinking village employees, but
Because, okay, keep that, because that's one of the points in here is elected officials may not be selected while holding office. Keep that in there, but don't exclude employees. Otherwise, there's agreement on the.
Do we wanna allow posthumous nominations? So we had that issue come up this year. I'd like to allow that.
I think so too.
Very important people can die suddenly.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Well, should there be a limit though? Because we don't want to nominate Abraham Lincoln for
Well,
or Chief Wakazoo. I mean,
Well,
it should be within, I think it should be within the year. Since the last one was, honestly.
I get it, I'm sorry, it's just too much. Abraham Lincoln.
Canadians interesting.
I don't think our president would
No,
give
but.
much credence to
No,
Chief Walker.
what I'm talking about is it should be within the 365-day period since the last person of the year was awarded. It can't be somebody who predated that.
I hear you.
So they have to have passed during the year.
Okay.
That's the only, I would think that would make sense, because we don't want to go back, well, we forgot about Andy Anderson. I mean, you really do have to put a limit on it.
Okay, we can include that.
Okay. Thanks for Laura for bringing that to the council.
Yes, thank you, Laura. for
I was
all
wondering,
your
I
comments.
talked to the manager, was like, what's the formal policy? It's like, there isn't one.
yeah,
What's it say on the trophy? Okay, item E was the addition, and that's the, master plan. Work that was included in the packet, and I'm glad it was clarified. I couldn't understand if it was 18,000 or 12,000, but it sounds like the combination of it's 30,000 to help us wrap up the master plan work.
Yeah.
Is that company really out of Texas?
No, Traverse City.
Oh, okay, because the address was like somewhere in Texas. I thought, wow, we've got some outreach.
They have a couple consultants in Texas. The primary consultant, Brad Lawnberger, is in Traverse City. And he also partners with another consultant firm. It's a sole proprietor in Traverse City. So there's basically the two of them.
Okay.
Two people that would be doing it.
Yeah, Susan.
My main question is this standard for villages to hire a consultant, or
Yeah,
why do we?
normally you hire it
Yeah.
from the get-go. And we have a draft that they're looking at to review, like we've worked on it for a long time. We have a draft that we've worked on. There's tons of data that needs updating. There's information that we need checked so that we can be sure that it's accurate and good.
Did we
Yeah,
have a
but there are
consultant last
mistakes.
time we issued the master
Yes,
plan?
and they did the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
and this
thanks.
time around, what we did differently is that we worked on it first, so we could try to ensure that it's reflecting our local information and values, not just like cookie cutter, and then going with them with that, and then them working with that, and then with us to just get it across the finish line and ensure that there isn't anything in there that is problematic or shouldn't be that way, or don't even include this, sort of thing, so that it doesn't create confusion or problems down the road. Because while we've been working on it for a long time and are very familiar with our community, we're not necessarily as familiar with the legal issues or different things that could arise out of changes that we're proposing.
So the planning commission's pretty happy with it.
The planning commission definitely wants this to happen,
Yeah, I
so that we
talked
could,
to Jane last weekend.
yeah, so.
Any other?
And this is not to exceed, like ideally, maybe it'll be less, so.
Okay, so we'll have it on the next meeting agenda for approval, if there's no disagreement with the proposal. I'm seeing none. Okay. That ends the discussion items and brings us to our second public comment. Again, 5 minutes to address the village council and state your name and address for the record. And show of hands or unmute in Zoom. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Betsy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for hearing my letter. I appreciate that. Susan, when I did the average cost of a house in Northport, I don't know, it's kind of getting mind-boggling, but I took 400,000 as an average. I don't know if it is, maybe that's high, but that would bring you to $360 a year times 20. Or if the house was 600,000, it would bring you to $540 per year for 20 years if the millage goes through. So that's a significant amount of money. And I think the voters will figure that out pretty quickly when doing the math. But I also wanted to mention that the state legislature, you're probably aware, has got some discussion going on right now about tightening the controls over dams. I'm sure it's a result of all the flooding, but much more eyes on, much more restrictions. So, if the millage does pass, that's going to be certainly something you guys are going to want to pay attention to. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Betsy. Any else for public comments?
Chris, Barbara Weber.
Sure, go ahead, Barbara.
Barbara Weber, South Shore Drive. Back to the dam. First of all, the dam is obsolete. It was built to wash logs, and that's long gone. The Eagle has stated, you can read it, it is illegal in Michigan to dam up a Michigan designated trout stream. So we have done just that with the dam. Listening to the budget, I did not hear or see anything about the dam, any funds set aside. So, what is the plan to, if millage doesn't fail? There was nothing addressed for the dam. I also appreciate Betsy's work and Cooley Law School, which is the law school of Michigan State. Kimball Center will, without charge, review your ballot for legality. And I know Betsy has included this in her work, but for free of charge. And I think it would be of value to submit whatever language you come up with to make sure the ballot is legal. Otherwise, I guarantee you there's going to be challenges to the ballot. I think that is all. I appreciate it. And I also want to wait before I go that both Conservation Resource Alliance and the Watershed Center both are supportive of removing the dam. And the Watershed Center has indicated they are ready to write some grant money. So please consider that. The resolution is very important, I think, to this when you're doing the ballot, that it has to be available for people to see. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Good.
Vicky Slot, 101 North Shore Drive. So I don't know that it matters, like I said, what I think, but I do want to thank the council. I'm always appreciative that you do read letters, respond to the community. That's much appreciated. Chris, I appreciate your fact that you're trying to be fiscally responsible and you look at it and you go, I think we could do this. I love practical people who look for an easy fix. Now that pushes it down the road and I get everybody wants to get rid of it. And to your thing, Will, environmentally, I don't think it's a disaster. I don't know enough about any of the environmental implications of it, but it seems like would be better environmentally as a trout stream. So that's what I mean environmentally. And I don't have a big stake in this battle. The finances are important. Laura, I want to thank you because I think that your detail orientation, I really appreciate it. Your hard work on making things better. I've seen it over and over, and I'm glad that we decided to get some help on that planning because that is a huge job and it's important. It sets our course for 5 years. So I think that's money that's important. I'm glad to see that planning is getting help with that. So I appreciate the way you continue to weigh options for the community. And I mean, I could say something for everybody, but again, I thank you for your openness to discuss in front of the public, come what may, because we can be tricky. I know that. Susan, I appreciate your fiscal responsibility. So, and Jared, your notes. So, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comments?
Yeah, hi, Chris. This is John Weber.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, John Weber, 603 South Shore Drive. Can you hear me okay? I'm outside.
Yeah, very good.
Okay. Just listening in today, I'm hearing some mixed messages. I've been listening in the last several meetings and there's been great activity around the affordable/attainable housing thing. But it kind of strikes me as odd that you're working in that direction, but then you're going to turn around and say, "Hey, welcome to the neighborhood. Here's a new tax that you have to pay." With the millage. Another consideration is this bond for the sewer, this excessive sewer that we have is going to come due in a couple of years, and I've not heard any discussion. Maybe there isn't any needed regarding the financial impact. A lot of the discussion today was subjective in terms of people's opinions. Because you have a millage number, you've done the due diligence and trying to figure out how much it would cost to maintain, repair, however you want to characterize it, but keep the dam in place. I haven't heard that same due diligence done for rewilding it. And so everyone's opinion is great, but the bottom line is we need to have some fair estimates as to what the cost is going to be in the near term, in terms of maintenance, in terms of actual changes that need to go on, but also the long term, you know, the next 20 years. So with that, I will be quiet.
Thanks, John. Anyone else for public comments? Okay, if not, we will move on to council comments. Susan.
May I legally address Elizabeth's point directly? Can I do that?
Sure, yeah, that's the point.
Okay,
Sure.
Elizabeth, I think you probably have the value of Northport properties correct, but taxable value is what mills apply to. And taxable value is much, much lower than market value. If we were paying taxes on what our homes are worth on the market, it would be outrageous. So I've read that taxable value, which is limited by state law, is probably 50% or less of market value. So again, when I did the numbers, I got numbers from Jared on what the median and average taxable values are of the properties in the village, and that's what I used for my calculations.
Any other council comment?
Just real quick, to Vicky, environmentally, probably rewilding's better, but we do a lot of things, as I said before, humans do a lot of things that are not the best environmental choices, and sometimes we splurge and we just like things. Like I use the example of asphalt parking lots all the time because they are terrible for the environment, but they're a lot nicer than parking in the mud. So sometimes we like to look at things that might not be the best environmental use. I don't see that as a big deal either way. It's a very small pond. We have ponds on golf courses. I mean, I'm sure ours, I don't want to meet them, but there are ponds that people build just to look at. And I think that's not a terrible, horrible thing. There's much worse environmental things going on around here. So that's my only point. I had it and lost it. Small explosion. Splurge. Yeah, I get it. Anyway, I will.
Laura,
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the Mill Pond dam costs and expenses is in the CIP, which is attached to the budget documents, so people that want to see it there, and it's not in the current budget cycle because there's still all these discussions and what's going to happen, but right now it's in the 2031, 32 slot for the farthest out it can be in the capital improvement plan. So just for people that were confused or wanted to see where it was.
Can I ask Chris a question?
Sure.
Chris, if the dam is removed and the drop in the creek trying to reach a level where the old creek is, what will that do?
You're gonna have a lot of sediment drift for one, because basically the outfall right now, base of the dam, the creek will just keep seizing that level until it balances out. It's all going to depend on flow rate. You know, what I'm saying is that if you go now, like you were to pull the boards out, you would draw it out, you will go back to rolling bottoms. And that's going to be quite a cut. Done in the past for dredging, because you do draw it down through a period, let it dry up, so so to answer your question, is that's going to keep slumping. How the state would mitigate that by, what they can do to stabilize the banks. Again, it was involved with Brown Bridge, and it was a little different. It's quite a lake, and this is more of a truck. You know, as you look at topography of this, it's more that ravine. That's gonna, in my mind, is gonna keep going, and I'm very confident of that. That's gonna carry a lot of drift time. We talked about this, around here with what would end up in the marine, in the present marine. But to think that's just gonna be a nice flat, gentle, plain down to that creek. As you know, as you look up the, you know, through the headwater, so to speak, out of that pond, probably 1,000 years ago, it's quite a river. That's very important. It just continues like that. Does that kind of answer your question?
Thank you.
So,
Just so everybody knows, we haven't talked about this before.
yeah. It's, you know, it's, again, see both sides. I really can't project, and, again, respect with insurance findings. But, I don't see it as an asset, more than a dual liability. I don't think it hasn't been discussed about dredging. Historically, it's been dredged every 13 to 15 years, but you're 16. And if we were to dredge it, it's gonna be costly. Probably, I would say around $100,000. That's not 67,000.
That does come up. Judging does come up a
yeah.
lot. It has been discussed.
Yep. And if you do that, there's ways again to potentially start fresh and mitigate the algae bloom and some things you could do. But that's a discussion.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I just want to say that, after the discussion today, and I want to thank, Betsy for her contributions to today's discussion. I'm much more comfortable with, how we're going to bring this ballot language forward. And I think that now, if we do approve it at the next meeting, there will be months for both sides to advocate their position and you know, and try to sway voters. And, so, yeah, that's all I got. Any other council comments? Okay, if not, I'll make a motion to go into closed session for a periodic performance evaluation of village manager pursuant to section 8A of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Motion was made by McCann, supported by Cook. Now, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
I need to get a piece of chocolate when blood sugar's low before we start talking.
On the car, you want me to go? Can I find it?
Joni has, there's no
Oh, Joni
need for
has-
Joni has stuff.
Oh, there's
Joni,
that.
you have some candy I can have, on your desk.
Yes, there is some in the little candy dish.
Can you get it for me? Thanks, Brett. You did it yourself.
Is that what that meeting looks?
What a
blood sugar monitor?
What was that?
Is that everybody looks like a blood sugar monitor?
Yeah, I have a blood, it's been beeping telling me.
I heard that, yeah, okay, I wonder what that was.
So I didn't wanna walk out of the meeting. So
Sometimes it's necessary.
sometimes it is, but oh, look, he brought me the whole dish. Oh, look at these.
Very good.
Maybe they're raisinettes.
I don't know.
Oh,
Have as much as you want.
Oh, these are coffee beans.
Yeah, sorry, is that okay?
Yes, what's that? Those are delicious.
Yeah.
Where do you get them? Hanson's?
Do you know who Rick Haynes is or Meat Pot? Do you know who that is? Oh, he gets yours.
I want to show that.
Yeah, I like them.
I am putting people to the wait.
Just putting everybody in the waiting room.
Joe, a lot of this, sitting on this.
So, I don't know.